Hello everyone and welcome to day 14, like nearly halfway through. um, it would help if I turned my lighting on, wouldn't it? So today we're going to be using sea sponges. These little cute beauties. I thought I need to do a video that gives me hands a break because that iridescent background killed my hands. I felt like they were like going to explode last night by the time I'd finished. So yes, that's what we're going to do today. So I've got these mixtures of green and I've got a Jasmine Becket Griffith book. Purely because a lot of her scenes are just take this off. A lot of her scenes are like a wooded area, which is what I'm after for this image. I mean, you can do all kinds with sea sponges. You can do quite a lot. You can do sky scenes, you can do sea, but I just wanted to do a forest look because I just like how these books are, and they're all very nature I can't even say the word, I'm not even going to try it. Nature based, should I say that? A lot of, especially this book, this is the Jasmine Becket Griffith Halloween one. So we've got a nice wooded area, and I wanted to do a take on what I did. Is it in this book? I think it might be in this book. Yeah, so I did all this in the background with the tree, added the trees. So I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it with the sea sponge. So what I've done with this to blank off the image is the good old fashioned put the tracing paper over the top, trace around it and cut it out. And I've literally just tacked it down in the areas that I want, because although I'm using watercolours, which are these Derwent Academy tube ones, it's not going to be overly wet. If it's not going to be loads wet, but so that would, it wouldn't seep underneath is what I'm saying. So I'm going to put in another tree bark in the middle. So what I want to do first, before I start using the sponges, I'm just going to add this in with just a normal round brush. I might have to pop this one. So I've got my greens ready there for the backgrounds. I've never used the sea sponges before, and I thought I'm going to give them a go. Oops. I'm going to give them a go, but I'm not wetting it down completely. I want this to be quite dark. So this I'm using is raw umber first, and I'm just going to draw a stem up the middle. It's going to go at the back of here. Not too bothered about where it goes, as in it's just for an effect. I'm not going to do it too thick because these are ones that are already in the background. That can just disappear off the back of there. And then I'm going to do the same with the rest of the trees that's in here. I'm just going to give them a nice brown coating. So I'm not taking the watercolour really wet. I'm keeping it quite thick because obviously I want it to look darker. I'm going to use the other browns with the sponges to give the texture of the bark. So I'm not being really neat with this. Whoops. Well, I'm not meant to go out the lines, that is for certain. Can you see what I'm doing there? I'm going to bring you down a little bit more. I'll pull that focus in a bit better. So I just thought, nice, gentle one, because tomorrow I'll be doing a pencil one again, or unless I can find another painting one I can do. because I'm just setting myself challenges here of all different. I'm just picking it and doing it. So I don't know if I say I'm being a bit daft with some things I've got wrote down, or not daft, but more like being, I think I'm better than I am with some of the things I've got wrote down. And there is some things, don't get me wrong, that I have done on these backgrounds that nobody has seen because I've ended up throwing it out because I couldn't do it. So I'm just going to go a bit darker here just to make the shadow slightly darker. So I'm using this more like a thicker paint here. And I'd like to do a gelatos background, but I've never really used them, so I don't think I want to just drag them out when I've not used them before. Once I've got all these in, paint all these. There's something really therapeutic though about painting that I really, really like. It just chills me out. But I would really like to learn a lot more about painting. Because although I love my coloured pencils, I do love the effect what brush, and I like the things like I'm showing you today, the sea sponge. And I mean, I've watched videos what people's done a full painting with sea sponges, and the effect is just stunning. This one's going to come up here. I'll need a smaller brush for this one. But with what I'm going to do with the sponge, I'm not too worried about going out the lines. But I do like doing nature colourings, I must admit. So once I've done all this side, I'm going to move on to the other side, because these need to be done, because I don't really want to I want the green to go over the top of them. And I actually could have done with adding a bit of black into these to make it a bit darker on some of them, which I might do. But I hope everyone liked the iridescent one. That one took me a long time to do. That was about 5 hours work altogether. So it was quite hard. To complete, and I was like, oh, I thought I've bit off more than I can chew here, but it wasn't that bad. So the bits in between the hair that are behind the tracing paper, I'm not too worried about that because I can touch that up when I've finished. And this will become another whip that no doubt I will finish at some point through the year now. I'm going to have absolutely loads of whips. So I'm going to have enough colourings ready for me to colour throughout the year, I think. But this background series has been really good for me because it's made me think outside the box. It's made me create things I wouldn't usually create, which I think for me is really good, because although I do have a creative mind, I can get a lot of creative block. And where I'll sit there and ponder for ages thinking, I can't do this. I can't do this. And then this has forced me to do things that I would normally say, no, I can't do that, and leave it. So this really has made me come out my shell a bit with shell. Tough pun there. But it truly has. It's brought another side of me out that I think, yeah, I can do this. I'm not just sticking to pencils. I haven't brought markers out in this background series because I'm still not friends with markers. But it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. So I'm going to go in between these little bits here. I've no idea what they are dangling down, but we'll turn them into something. And this is another tree here. But whatever they are, kind of like funny looking leafage. But as much as I'm enjoying it, I hope everybody else is enjoying it as much as I am. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to turn my heat gun on to dry that layer off. What I'm going to do is just get black, and I'm just going to add. It's so hard to pop open. Oh, it was already open, that's why. Put some black over there. And I'm going to add in some black into this for the shadows of the trees. I'm just going to put that in down here. And I'm really not too worried about blocking it in. And fading it out as such, because I want these to be darker. I'm going to try and keep this background under an hour. I want it to be kind of quick. What I'm going to do is just bring out some of that and just blend that in a little bit. Take clear water and just blend that out. I'm still learning with watercolour, but I find blending it out with water is the easiest way. So this one will be dark here. Just putting this bend here. I'm just trying to see where there might be some dark areas. This tree I definitely want darker. Make it wider. I'm going to put some notches and bumps in it now. Obviously, trees aren't perfectly straight. But they're so fun. Let's get this one a bit darker. And then this one a little darker. So this lockdown, I don't know if everybody else has been taking it, but I'm finding it really hard work, this one, especially with the homeschooling again. But I mean, the first lockdown was quite at ease with the homeschooling, where this now is like real school and it's really challenging. Like, I've got 3 children on homeschooling, and my eldest son is allowed to go in college because he's at the end of his college term, or the last part of his college course, so he's been allowed into the school, into college. But my younger kids, I've got 3 of them at home, and I'm like teacher to all 3, and it's absolutely crazy. I've got tears, I've got things that are not opening properly. It's driving me up the wall, and then I'm getting myself gutted because I planned to do background jury all through January, and I didn't plan on, obviously, the lockdown. And it's really upset because I thought some days I'm thinking I'll get loads done and I'll get so much in front, and I've not been able to get anywhere near in front where I'm needed to be. It's been quite a stressful week, getting used to the kids going back to school and get back to school life, then to be told, right, that's it now, you. Right, we can mess around with that in a bit. So what I'm going to do now, just going to roll about, stay there. So I want burnt ochre, which is like a warm brown. And I'm going to use the little sponges, these bits, and then I want burnt ochre. And I really enjoy, I know we've got the creative background sheets, but I do like also to do it in the colouring books as well, so people can actually see how easy it is to be done in the colouring books. So what I'm going to do is pull that out and wet that down. You can see what I've done with these little sponges. I've just literally broke the sponge up, and I'm going to get this quite wet. Now you can wet your sponges slightly. I'm going to take the colour off, and I'm just going to get some clear water, and I'm just going to put some, wet some into my sponge first. Oops, there's black there, I forgot about that. And I'm just going to get it and just going to bounce it around on the tree. But I don't want it too wet. And then the little pattern of the sea sponge, I'll pull it a bit closer down actually. I think we're going to come in again with that. It was a little bit too wet. And that just gives us the texture that we're after. Like, you'll see it more when I actually do the green. Putting a bit more of this in. Bit more water. You can't really see me mixing up, but literally all I'm doing is putting my blob on and then wetting it into a nice wet, thick pool, because I don't want it too watered down, because I want the texture to show on the page. And by ripping your sponge into tiny little pieces, you get more workable pieces where I can use this on its side and really get down into the nuts and crannies of the tree with the little spriggy bits of the sponge. Don't think much will show up on this, but we'll do it anyway. So before we move on to my next colour, I'm just going to use my heat gun and dry that off. And I really like using the tracing paper, because I know other people use masking fluid, but not everyone has got the money to buy everything to have it on hand. And I mean, masking fluid is probably relatively cheap, but I just like using the paper, because you can reuse this paper once you've done it. You don't have to faff around getting the masking fluid off after. And it's just a good old-fashioned way of colouring, or painting, should I say. I'm going to pull another piece off this one. So I'm going to stretch it out and get that to splay out. I'm going to turn that the other way. I like the other pattern better. Get this thicker and wetter. So it's almost like a runny acrylic kind of texture. So I'm getting, can you see how thick it is on the brush? So it's not kind of watered down runny. I've got quite a thick like runny paint type texture. And each sponge you get has got a different texture to it anyway. I'm not liking that piece actually. Give me this piece. This one looks a bit better. Yes. So yeah, this piece has got more, it's more spotty rather than that one's quite smooth. So this is just for texture again. And just to show you guys what you can do with the sponges. I'm just going to put this one on the branches, or they're not branches, are they like stumps? But trunks of the tree. I'm going to do these on the furthest forward ones. And rather than on the backs. Some of them I will, the ones that you can see. Okay, I'm going to dry that off. Making sure that this is really dry now, for when we put the green on because I don't want it to mash up the colours. Okay, let me just wipe the brown off. A ton of wasted paint there, but that's fine. Because I've only got this tiny little board. There we go. What I'm going to do now with these, I've got in a blob, I'm going to add more. So we've got cadmium yellow. Probably won't need even anywhere close to what I've put out here. I'm not going to put any more of the where's it gone, that one? Sorry about this, but I have lost a tube of paint. I'm sure I didn't put it back. I have strange hooby-doobies going on in this house, me. So this colour here, what I'm not... Sorry if my head went in camera then. So this colour you can see here is yellow ochre. I'm not putting any more of that down because we only used a tiny little bit of it. Then we've got light green. And don't really need any of that. Then we've got permanent green, deep green, and then grass green. So I'm just going to add a bit more grass green on. I'm going to add a bit more permanent green. That one's dry. You don't realise how quick they dry up. Let's go. I'll just give this a wash off, and then I've got my other bit of water on this side once I've got this dry. Okay. So what I'm going to do first, I'm not going to do it pure yellow. Got a tiny splodge of green in there, but I need to make a big enough spot, and I'm going to just add the colours to it as I go along. So I'm going to put the tiniest bit of light green in there, just to green the yellow up, because that's a bit too bright and I don't have a greeny yellow. And for this one, I'm going to use this bigger brush so it'll cover more area, and I'm keeping it natural as it is. So I'm just going to run it on the ends there. And all I'm going to do is literally just dab it as though there's leaves coming off the tree. And I'm rocking it as I'm dabbing it. And hopefully it's not... You guys can see what's happening with the pattern on there. I don't mind if they come over the tree branches at all, because we're going to have them coming all in between here. This is where the tracing paper comes in handy, because we can go over the top of a head here. And I've gone in really close with that tracing paper, so I don't know what they are, but I'm going over them. I'm going to come down here. But again, this is just a really quick and effective background that you can do with these sea sponges, and you can get them from almost anywhere. I got mine from my local supply shop, but you can get them. Could use this for stamping and card making, whatever you wanted to use. So now I'm going to add in, I'm going to add the yellow back in, but I'm going to add a bit of the yellow ochre. So I just want to richen that yellow up a bit. It gives us a nice, like, dirty green. So I'm going to use a different sponge. I'm going to use one of my smaller ones for this bit, because I don't want a lot of it. I'm just more adding it in areas now around the page. Mainly concentrating on the forefront of the picture with this, the lighter areas where the trees are lighter. Because you think you're just seeing the bark, so this is kind of like the over. If you're walking through the woods, all the bush is above your head, isn't it? So you're looking, this is all the background stuff. But it's always lighter at the front as you're walking through it, and then darker as we go to the back. So I want to keep these areas a lot lighter than other areas. So that's, I would say, enough. Put just a tiny bit in this here because I want to make that darker here. So then I'm going to pull in light green now, and I'm going to chuck it all in there. Really lighten that up. And they don't soak up loads of water, these sea sponges, so you can work with them with your paint quite thick like this. So with this one, I'm going to go back in with my bigger sponge that we had before, and I'm just going to rock that around. And this is going to go everywhere again. And she's at the edge of a forest line. We'll probably do with using a smaller one here. Or I should have lined the edge with washi tape. But as we go more into the picture, I want to leave a lot of the lighter area exposed, the lighter greens, towards the top where the light's coming through, and all these areas here we're going to darken up. Now I'm losing my voice. Next I'm going to add in grass green and really darken that up. Okay, and that one I'm going to use my little sponges now, so the ones that are broken up. I'm just going to make sure that they're all covered, and then I'm going to blob that around. And like I said, I'm going to concentrate on this bit being darker down here. And anyone's out for an easy background, aren't we? So this is probably ideal. And because I've broke it off into pieces, it's not got any harsh edges, so it just puts this nice broken, like hazy, leafy background that we're after. It's like she's deep in the forest, but it's bright daylight outside. So as I'm coming up through here, I'm just going to dot it more sparingly around the top. So I want the colour in there, but not as much as I have it down here. The edges I do. Okay, and let's add in our next one, which was permanent green. I'll add a bit of yellow in. I'm just using the same patch and I'm just going darker each time. And this time I'm going to use my other little one that I had going. Where have you gone? I think it's this one. And I'm going to start dropping that down here. I'm going to really darken this bit up down here. It's like I'm getting a brush-o effect, but without using the brush-o. I really like it, actually. So concentrating on the edges here. I'm just bouncing it off really light here, because like I said, I want it in there, but I only want it in ever so slightly. Like a spray paint effect. It's amazing, I love it. And I'm just letting the sponge, where the sponge got bigger holes, I'm just letting that, if it puts that pattern in, that's what it's having. Okay, and then I'm going to add in now our last one, which was green deep. This one was, and it's gone a bit hard. And a tiny bit of black in. So this is quite painty now. I've not watered it down anywhere near as much. And I'm going to use the one, my little one. And then I'm just going to bounce this around. This is mainly going, concentrating at the bottom of here. And I'm just going to get a dry one. Try and pull some of that up there, because that's gone a bit too heavy. In fact, I'll use this one. I like that speckled effect on the back of there. Ooh, gone too heavy there. Told you I'm not taking the bloopers out, but I'm not stressing because I can go back in with a lighter colour. It reminds me of a really heavy, like, Canadian bush type of feel. I'm just going to bring it in these edges a little bit. But like I said, here, just putting little bits of it in. I want it to look like the sky is coming through it. I'm hoping that that's what we're seeing. And then up into the corners here, because I've no idea what they are, so we're covering them up. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to wash my brush off. Oops. And I'm going to bring back some of the lighter colours. So I've got some yellow here. So I'll make this come out here. And I've got a bit of this grass green that's left. My stomach's not happy. Sorry if anyone heard that grumbling then. I'm going to mix all these in. Tiny bit of this. I'm going to make with what greens we've got there. Let's have a see this one. I'm going to blob it in. And then I'm going to take it back over the top of these. And that will just take some of that heavy dark off. But keep that shade that we're after. But I just love how it leaves the little tiniest white bits. And that's what you see in a forest when it's daylight, isn't it? It's dark in the main parts of the trees that you're walking through. But the hedge line at the top and everywhere else is dark. So I'm just going to mix these together here. I'm just going to go back with the yellow, the cadmium yellow, with the bit of green what's left on my brush. I'm going to brighten this up. I'm going to get this bit will do it. I'm going to add some of this. Tell you what I'll do first, I'm going to dry it. And then I'm going to come back in with this, put it on top. And I would say that is as simple as it gets with a sea sponge. Real quick, easy, nice forest effect background. So why don't you go purchase some sea sponges and show me what you've created with your sponges? Because I really like this effect that you can see that the sun is coming through here, like there's a path that I've kind of created. And I absolutely love the effect of that. I'm just going to fill in some of these really light areas, and then let's have a see what it looks like. So yeah, that's not too bad at all. Let me just move it over ever so slightly. I've got a bit of light. And it's protected the picture really well. And not left, because there's one thing that I always used to get was that funny haze, you know, from when you go around things and they get that white funny looking haze. Trying to get the work of that way. A bit too much white here. Let me just add a bit of wet. Add a bit of wet. Oh dear me. Let me add a bit of wet. I'm just gonna work in some of them areas what I think will look a bit too white. I think I'm kind of happy with that. Yeah. Tiny bit of that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is peel this off, and then that just reveals literally the girl for you to colour. And I just put it down with some little white tack, which doesn't affect the paper whatsoever. And then that, once it's dry, you can use that for something else, so it's completely reusable. But that, everybody, is how I would do my a forest kind of background with sea sponges. I'm just going to use the brush here and kind of with this green I've got here, and just build that edge up there. And then I would probably just paint this bit. my residual paint, so you're not wasting any paints. These can be used on all these things. Let's just darken this up. We'll do some dark. Just doing this purely so we're not wasting paint that's left on the palette. Might as well, it's foliage, so might as well use it. Just like using mixed media stuff, but them sea sponges erase, and you can do all kinds of things with even your normal dishwashing sponges. There's some great dishwashing sponges. You know, one of them flat dishwashing sponges, you could get some nice lines in the water down there. We'll end up doing a full colouring page here. So let's get some of this in the yellow. And do some of these yellow. Some kind of smoke that coming off the knitting needles. It's weird. Surprising how far this paint goes. Let's do them at the back really dark. Got some dark left here. Mix it in with this dark here. I've got no idea what that is. I think it's like smoke of some form. I'm not going to do too much because you do that now with your pencils. Just do some of these dark. There we go. So yeah, that's all that's left now. You could do that like she is in water because it's down there, but I was just thinking you could probably do it more like a boggy, stony effect water rather than a blue sea kind of colour. You know, like a greeny swamp type of colour. Let's see if I could do it with a brush. See, I'm going to end up colouring the whole thing. So this is not a brush part, but it's kind of like a, I want it like a dirty brown water that she's stood in. You know, like a, I don't know if this would be the right colour. I'm going to try it anyway. A bit of blue in. I'm just going to do this. Dirty up some blue and finish this whole background there. Probably not the right kind of colour, but it is and it isn't. Like a rivery, dirty. That's why she's mad, because she's fell in the dirty rivery water. Don't want to use loads of this, you see. But clear enough that you can kind of see through it. I bet I've ended up making this go over an hour. That's the kind of effect I was thinking, you know, like a grungy brown kind of background. I want to make that darker there. That's the edge, that's a tree. But yeah, kind of like that. Kind of like a dirty stream. Add a bit more blue in, just try and blue it up in places. This is more like water. Like a turquoise. I think it does have that effect that I'm after. That dirty, greeny, bluey water. I could dry that off. Finish this tree off here. Trying to be neat. If it were me though, I'd put metallic over these needles, because I've kind of just covered them up with the brown. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that, I think. Just put a bit of white highlight on that water. So that's predominantly how you do a forest looking background. If I look back on it again, I think I will probably wash it in around the edge. I'm just going to use my soft Holbein and just kind of put some floaty kind of watery lines in. and give it that more of a water effect. Just very quickly. Nothing major. And that, my friends, is how I create a background with sea sponges. Cute little, hard little bobbly things what create beautiful artwork. Thumbs up! So if you do like what I'm doing with this background series, please subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Please give me a like and drop me a lovely comment so I get a bit of feedback from these backgrounds. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on day 15, which is my birthday. Another year older, but another year wiser. Good day, everyone. See you all again soon.